Good evening, Iowa fans. The Hawkeyes with a 100-64 defeat of Nebraska-Omaha on this fine Monday evening during a week in which we've got some action-packed sports coming up here from Black Friday through the weekend, with the Hawkeyes heading to Florida, the Iowa basketball team heading to Florida, and of course the football team finishing off their regular season against Nebraska. And I believe on the phone line this evening, we've got the one and only Coach Gary Close. Gary, welcome.
Had to call in to say hello to all Hawkeye fans and wish them a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, appreciate you calling in, Gary. And I know you are kind of in a different place right now, but if you will. But I know you at least watched the first half of this game. Can you give us your thoughts on what you saw from Chris Murray?
Well, we had to do a little scrambling where we were to try to find a place where we could watch it. We caught a little bit of it, and I have to admit that when I first got it, I think the announcer came on and said that Chris had some 20 points or 24 points. I'm going, oh my goodness. So, and then I saw he was like 10 for 11 from the field. So I'm disappointed he missed that one shot.
I tell you, Gary, and you'll probably see some highlights later, but it's hard not to start comparing him to Keegan, and I know it's way too early, and competition has not been. I mean, obviously he did it against Seton Hall, so that says something on the road. But sure, he's showing signs, Gary, and he looks like a different guy than last year.
He looks real confident, and that's such a big part of the game. Anything, being successful, and he just looks like he's very comfortable in what he's doing, and that's exciting. They move into the top 25. In fact, the Big Ten's had a great week. They got only 5 or 6 now in the top 25. We only had 3. So great week for the Big Ten. Great week for the Hawks, and this will be good to go down to Florida and play some good teams down there. It will give us an indication of where they are.
And let's not forget too, Gary, that last year Iowa struggled mightily in the Big Ten Big East Gavitt Games Challenge. They dominated that series this year. I know it's individual matchups, but you're right. The Big Ten has showed up so far, and of course they've got some demons to exercise once we get to March Madness. But good start across the conference.
Sure. Yeah. No doubt. I don't know if you can ask for a better start. Maryland's been a surprise. They're undefeated. They got a good coach. He's an outstanding coach. And I got a chance to see Penn State a little bit in their tournament, and they showed flashes of being a pretty good team. The one I was surprised a little bit was Illinois getting knocked out, but Virginia's on a roll. So they're playing some good competitive opponents, and that's good, because the Big Ten season, at least those first 2 games, is right around the corner.
Yeah, Maryland has just dominated everybody they've played. And Gary, I don't want to take you, but if you have just a minute, I just want to ask you about Connor McCaffrey, because we've talked about him, and I have not gotten an opportunity to ask Fran about his shot. But man alive, you just watch him shoot, and he is all of a sudden, and maybe it's just confidence, but like you said, and what Jess Settles said on the air a couple of weeks ago, it seems like his stroke is different. He's becoming a shooter.
Yeah, and you can tell he's looking for a shot, whereas some other times he would pass it up. And he's a terrific passer. Fans got to enjoy watching him pass the ball. I mean, he sees the court. The one pass he made, the lob to Murray in the first half, was a quick touch, a little lob right up to the rim. Was, some people don't even see that pass, much less throw it. So he's the kind of player you love having on your team. He's tough. He's physical. He knows how to play the game. And now he's added a shot to his arsenal. So that just makes him even more dangerous.
And what does that do for Big Ten play to have a guy like that with the leadership? He's a 6th-year guy, obviously is very adequate in feeding the post, but just decision maker. But for him to actually be now a threat from 3, because he's been able to hit him here or there, but he's not been a consistent threat. So guys play off him. What's that going to do once we hit Big Ten play?
It'll open things up. It'll the defense has got to come out on them. So that's that's less help. That's less people sagging on other players. So the more threats you've got on the perimeter, the more extended the defense has got to be, and that's just going to open up more driving lanes and more passes into the post. So that's only going to help.
And finally, Gary, last thing, and then if you have anything else to add before you jump off, it was good to see Josh Dix get in the action. I feel like he's going to be called upon this season. Fran has been consistent with that both freshmen are going to be needed. Of course, Tony was out this evening, which created an opportunity for the two guards. But good to see Josh Dix. Seems like he, and maybe you're obviously a shooting expert. You probably can tell me this. It seems like he's struggled to get those feet, those shoulders square. And once he got square this evening, he got hot. I think he made 3 or 4 threes this evening. You just feel like they're going to need him at some point, don't you think?
For sure. Anytime you can get some additions off the bench, it can only help. It's a huge transition to go from high school, and obviously his high school season was cut short. But now you're playing against guys that are longer, or they're quicker, or they're more athletic. And so to get comfortable, get your shot off a little bit quicker, it's an adjustment. It'll take a little bit of time, but you can tell the way he delivers the ball, that he's a shooter, and it's only a matter of time before his confidence grows. And who knows? It may only be one game. You come in and all of a sudden you get hot, and it can be the difference between winning and losing. So you got to keep working those guys in to see what they've got, and every minute they can get, can help their development. And who knows, that might pay dividends down the road.
Well, Coach, appreciate you calling in. Anything else to add on anything? We got a big weekend coming up with a couple of games against Power 5 opponents.
Sure.
I know, each of those teams, they've had their ups and downs so far, but definitely a step up in competition come Friday.
Well, you're going to have ups and downs, especially at the beginning of the year. You just never know how you're going to play. Rankings right now don't mean a whole lot. It's nice to have them, but you can't assume just because you were where you were last year, you're going to be the same thing this year. So we've seen that. We've seen some teams get upset, and that's part of it. Both those teams that are down there are proven teams. So Iowa's going to have to play well to be successful down there, and that's what they want as they head into the Big Ten season, not too far down the road. What was the situation? I missed it. What was the situation with Tony?
They're calling it a thigh problem, and he's day to day.
Oh, well, that won't be too much of a problem. So
I hope not.
It gave Ulis a chance to play more minutes, and that's how you got to look at it. It gives another guy an opportunity and develop your bench. And the little I saw looked like he played okay.
He did, and what better time? I don't want to say it's ever a good time to be dinged up, but what better time to be dinged up than a game like this where you can get those guards some extra time?
Exactly. Yep.
So
you'd be a good coach, Corey.
Let me tell you something, Gary. I'm hiring you to my staff. So
okay. Well, I don't come cheap.
Yeah, be ready for a tank for 2 a season.
Okay. All right.
All right, Coach.
Sounds good.
Travel safe
Happy
back home,
everybody.
Yep. Enjoy the warm weather.
All right. Sounds good. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Yep.
Coach Gary Close joining us here at from the Hawkeye of the Storm during our gamely, I guess. Is that the right word? Game by game post-game show. Appreciate Coach Close being here, and of course being here for just about every Iowa basketball game during this what I expect to be a very entertaining season. It's already been an entertaining season with a win against Seton Hall and 3 dominant victories against inferior competition. What more can you ask for from an Iowa basketball team that lost a lot last year as far as production, with Keegan Murray, Jordan Bohannon, Joe Toussaint all leaving and for various reasons, 3 different reasons. But boy, this team, give Fran credit and give Chris Murray credit. The development of those Murray twins has just been incredible. Now, Chris has got a lot to prove still because we're still early, but man, that first half, he looked every bit as good as brother did last year in similar positions. So we'll see if that carries over. And I think Chris has got a smoother shot than his brother. Now his brother has turned into a really good shooter, but just the shot. I mean, I think Kenyon would probably attest to the fact that Chris is more or less a more pure shooter. So I think he's got that natural touch on his shots, even around the rim, that maybe Keegan didn't have. Now Keegan's got other attributes that makes him unique, but very intriguing situation here with Chris Murray and the guys he has around him once they get Tony Perkins back. I think they're going to need Josh Dix from behind the arc at some point this year. It was good to see Aaron Eulis knock a couple threes down. Connor McCaffrey's now a threat from three. Peyton Sandfort's in a big shooting slump, but he's going to get going at some point. So I think plenty of reason to be optimistic about this team right now, albeit early in the season. Let's get to James, who's been on hold. James, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good. The one thing I am gonna ask you a question, and I be honest if you think I'm being like dumb about this, but I think the only reason they didn't play TP is I don't know if the injury is really that serious. It's just more the fact that they knew there was a chance they could beat him without him, so they're like, oh, let's just not play him and get him 100% healthy for Clemson.
Yeah, I really don't even know what the injury is. I can tell you that Fran spoke with the media yesterday, and I was not able to join that press conference. I didn't hear anything about an injury yesterday, so unless it occurred in pregame or Fran just didn't say anything about it yesterday, which is possible, I'm guessing you're right that it's not real severe, and this is a precaution. Yeah, why not? Why not hold him out if he's ailing at all? I'm sure there was an injury, James. I don't think it was just.
I agree with you, but I think it was he could have played through it if he had to, kind of.
No, I miss. You could be right. I wouldn't be surprised on that.
But one thing I say is I think this is one of the deepest 3-point shooting teams they've had in a while. What I mean by that is we got a lot more options that can shoot threes. So you should just be you know what I'm saying? Fredericks could, but then after that, Connor wasn't as consistent as he is now. And then Eulis can hit you some. Patrick has been better 3-point shooter now than he has been in the past. You know what I'm saying? McCaffrey's definitely have grown into being better 3-point shooters. And then you add that with Dix, or Chris Murray. I think this is one of the you have a lot more options that can shoot from deep. You know what I'm saying, kind of thing.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean the development of Connor McCaffrey from behind the arc, he is just on a different level with confidence right now. And he's shooting from everywhere. I mean, you saw the mid-range shot today, and his stroke, I don't care what anybody says, it's different. I think Jess Settles hit that on the head, and Gary Close agreed with him. He has improved his motion. And right now he's shooting, as far as confidence is concerned, at an all-time high. Now, again, will that carry over, and will that, once he hits a slump, because good shooters hit slumps. I mean, we saw it with we're seeing it right now with Peyton Sandfort. I mean, Jordan Bohannon had slumps. So Connor McCaffrey, I'm not saying he's the next Jordan Bohannon from three. What I'm saying is, even if he is an adequate shooter right now, he's not going to be able to sustain whatever he's shooting 70% from three. That's not going to continue. So the question is, when he hits a slump, when he hits a rough patch, will he be able to maintain his confidence? I'm guessing he will be, because he's a veteran. And if he really believes in this new shot, this new motion, that's going to just pay huge dividends and force teams to defend him. And that should open things up for Filip Rebraca. I still think Filip staying out of foul trouble will be a massive storyline, because, I mean, we know Mulvey and Ogundele are a ways behind Rebraca. Rebraca, I think, is their most indispensable player. If Rebraca can stay out of foul trouble, this is a lethal group, especially with Tony Perkins healthy.
I agree with you on that. And obviously, you see, too, they didn't really. I mean, they brought Josh in at the 10-minute mark, but that's because the game was pretty much over by that point. They're not going to play those guys. And when they had to, and Seton Hall get Rebraca, they put Pat at the 5. So for me, that proves obviously they don't trust. So the two. I don't know what the size of Clemson is. I don't know if they have that much size compared to. I don't know if you know, but I don't know if they have size compared to
Yeah, I haven't looked at Clemson. As far as I know, they had a close game against the Citadel where Ash went off. Did they drop a game against a nobody?
I don't know. I could look, but I'm not sure.
They say Clemson's 4-1. Yeah, they did lose one. No, they lost to South Carolina by 2, and that was a road game. So I mean, they don't have any good wins. I mean, they beat Bellarmine, Loyola Maryland, the Citadel, and their next game against Iowa. So they get an extra. Let's see, the Loyola Maryland. When was that game? That was tonight as well. So they just beat Loyola Maryland by 31. So no, I mean, right now Clemson has proven far less than Iowa has, and if I'm guessing Iowa will be pretty heavy favorites in that game on Friday.
For sure. And then
By the way, that game's going to start during the football game.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be trouble for me because I'm not going to be at home. I'm going to be somewhere else. So having to try to watch both games is kind of going to be a struggle, but we'll try to do the best with that.
Well, you tell your girlfriend to go buy you another TV, and you tell her or buy you another tablet or whatever she needs to do. She needs to get on it, right?
Right. But I feel like obviously we know Uno is not great, so like
who?
Uno, the team we played today, Nebraska-Omaha.
Okay.
So for generals, like I think it's kind of a warm up game, to get into the kind of the more meat of your schedule. But now is when it really starts getting like tough because you got Clemson, number count is tough, and then obviously whether it's TCU, Cal's not really that good. I think TCU will beat Cal.
Not really that good.
I want to give them a little credit because they're a Power 5 school, but they're not good at all.
No,
they're not good
Cal's
at all.
A disaster.
Yeah, I mean they've been for a while, but
they're probably the worst Power 5 team in the country.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I don't doubt you on that one. They haven't been good in I think a couple of years, but
have you looked at what Cal has done this year?
I tried not to because I know it's not pretty, so I tried not to look at what.
Okay, let me read you. Listen, James, real quick, because I got a caller here on hold, but let me read you real quickly. Let me read you what Cal has done. For anybody who's not aware, Iowa could play Cal if Cal, depending on what Iowa does against Clemson. I mean, so in other words, the winners play the winners, the losers play the losers. So if Iowa was to lose to Clemson and Cal loses to TCU, then it's Iowa Cal. That would be a disaster scenario because then you get a loss against Clemson and then a meaningless win or loss against Cal.
I don't think we would, but I'm just saying you never know because it is basketball, sometimes.
Okay.
Especially the way TCU doesn't look great. They lost to who did they lose to? That was a bad loss. They lost to somebody else a really bad loss. Oh, Northwestern State.
Yeah, that's a bad loss. Northwestern State. All right, so this is what Cal has done. Listen to this. Lost by 10 to UC Davis, lost by 9 to at home to Kansas State, lost by 2 to UC San Diego, lost by 8 to Southern.
Yeah, that's not very good at all, especially losing to Southern.
Well, they won a game.
I have a guy I went to high school with that used to play at Southern, so I know Southern's not very good. So, but in general, so you're saying obviously I think we beat Clemson, but you're saying you think we beat Clemson as well?
Now, absolutely, I'm taking Iowa against Clemson. Yeah, definitely.
I would too. So I was just checking what you said. I think they have a good chance.
I will be watching Clemson. I mean, I'm going to go back and watch a couple of these games. I want to watch that South Carolina game. I'm not going to watch a whole game, but I'll watch the condensed game because I'd like to actually watch them and see what they present floor. But I do know, and it's something that I released earlier today. It was kind of a segment from an earlier conference preview, and you may have seen it, James. But they did bring in a good class. I don't know how many of these true freshmen are playing for Clemson. But my point being, as the year goes on, you'd expect those younger guys to maybe begin to contribute more and more. But that's, again, without watching them, I can't say one way or the other. I just know that they've lost their only game against a good team, and that was South Carolina. They struggled against the Citadel.
For sure. And I think this is definitely a good chance for them to win, win this whole Emerald Coast Classic thing, because I think they do have a good chance at TCU as well. So I'm not saying at all this is not a chance, and that'd be too. I mean, they're Power 5 schools, and they're probably mid-Power 5 schools. But TCU is usually a good school. They're just struggling with the injuries right now, so I don't know how high you can count them, But no matter what, there's still 2 quality wins. At least TCU would be a quality win no matter what, because at the end of the day, they could be in March Madness, whether they're injured or not. That's not your fault when you play them, but that could be a quality win. So
you got to realize when they scheduled Clemson, they didn't set the Clemson matchup, but they entered this tournament when they scheduled. Again, Georgia Tech wasn't even scheduled by them. Let's see. Seton Hall might actually be a tournament team when all's said and done. We don't know that. Obviously Duke is a good schedule. This is still one of the more difficult schedules they've had. It's just unfortunate that Clemson struggled, TCU struggled. Cal was bad no matter what. You just don't want to play Cal. But for the most part, they've got good opportunities out there for wins. And Iowa State, that's going to be a game that we never talk about. The Iowa State game. That's a game, if you can win, even though it's in Iowa City this year, that is a resume building win. And they got pummeled last year in Ames.
For sure, and I hope veterans, because we're a very veteranized team, they use that as like motivation to try to beat them. But it'll be good overall, and hopefully, obviously, we can win the Emerald Coast Classic because I think the last like tournament we entered, we won was what, the 2K Classic, the 2K Empire Classic in New York.
I think you're right. Yep.
Yep. And so it'd be good to get another one, and you never know because Clemson and or TCU could be in the March Madness, so it could be both good wins. But it was a good win tonight. Obviously, I think we all expected it, and obviously Friday's gonna be a big day, and we're hoping for 2 wins on Friday.
All right, James. Appreciate the
Yep.
phone call.
Enjoy your holidays.
Thank you, sir. All right. I know I'm behind in the chat, but we got a caller who's been on hold forever. DC Glaza, what is it? You're muted. Let's get you unmuted. DC Glaza. Hey.
What's going on?
Not much,
Corey,
man.
I appreciate the broadcast. I've been watching you for all of the football games and the basketball games the last few weeks, and I think you're onto something good.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad you watched the show.
Yeah. Not like you need my compliments, but
no, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate your compliments, sir. Are you in DC? You live in DC?
No, I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you're a Hawkeye.
Caitlin Clark sweatshirt right there with the shrug.
I didn't even know those were a thing. Those are a thing. I got to get myself one of them.
You can find them. If you dig deep enough on the internet, you can find whatever you want.
All right. The Caitlin Clark shrug sweatshirt. I love it. Why are you wearing a sweatshirt in LA, man? What's the temperature down there?
It's too warm, so I like to cool it down. I like to put on the air conditioner in my room, to give myself a little cool so I can feel like I'm in the Midwest when I'm not in the Midwest.
I gotcha. So what's the DC Glaza? Can you explain this for me?
Yeah, Daniel Christopher Glaza.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Glaza's your...
It's like TJ or JT or any of those names.
So DC is what you actually go by then?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Well, what'd you think of the Hawks tonight, DC?
I thought it was nice to get Bowen in the rotation, Dix in the rotation. I don't know if that was part of Fran's method of madness with Tony Perkins. He hurt his thigh or he was out tonight or whatever, but I don't know if that was that was premeditated to get these other guys some time to make sure that we can just go into the future with 9 or 10 guys as opposed to just 7 like last game.
Yeah, and like James said, I mean, I don't want to speculate on Tony's injury. I didn't have time to reach out to anybody. I know Tony's uncle pretty well. He's a really nice guy from the Indianapolis area, but I would guess that it's nothing serious. I would guess that it's something that's just precautionary. And hey, again, what reason to risk his health? Caller, I'm putting you on hold. This caller that just called in. What reason to risk his health against the number? I don't know what the Nebraska-Omaha, where they're at right now in Ken Palm, but last year they were like 330 in Ken Palm. Yeah. So they may be the worst team on the schedule.
Yeah.
Bethune-Cookman's pretty bad too. That's the problem. They need to win these games against Power 5 teams because the games against these cupcakes they're playing, they're not only cupcakes, they're bad cupcakes. I mean, like North Carolina A&T's awful. Bethune-Cookman's terrible.
Okay.
This team is terrible. I mean, Bethune-Cookman gave up. Let me look up Bethune-Cookman since we're talking about it. And the only reason this is valid is, I mean, when you get down to the nitty-gritty on Selection Sunday, these are things that the committee is going to be looking at. How bad were the teams that you beat up on?
Right.
And let me just find the
wait, number. So what do you think, Corey? Do you think that they gave Tony extra rest, or do you think they were actually nursing something?
I'm sure they were nursing something. I just don't know how severe it was. If this was a game if this was the Duke game,
yeah,
maybe he plays.
He's in there.
Yeah. Bethune-Cookman's terrible. They just lost to Charleston Southern. They lost by 52 to Indiana. Yeah, I mean that's just a bad basketball team right now. So, but I mean, Iowa beat them. I mean, Iowa beat them by 31. So it's not like I mean, they put up 112 on North Carolina A&T, who has since
Okay.
lost to Gardner Webb, Wofford, and they lost to Iowa State by 40. So
Okay.
you're going to get that to an extent in the early season. You just better take care of business, and Iowa's done that to their credit.
How do you think Tony feels? Do you think Tony likes that he was benched tonight because of the injury, or would he have preferred to be out there?
Well, like I say, I'm sure he's probably nursing something, but I don't know what the conversation. I hate to speculate on that, but the conversation's behind closed doors. Even if he was 80%,
Yeah.
He wants to play. He's a competitor.
Right.
He wants to play, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
dude. He always wants to play. He always wants to play.
if you're 80% and the coaching staff says, "Look, we don't want to risk your health," you say, "Okay." He's got bigger fish to fry this weekend. I can tell you that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Gearing up. Got Iowa and Nebraska this weekend too for the football team, but
Absolutely.
I'm optimistic.
Good. I'm optimistic too. I mean, I've got real high hopes for this team. I mean, if you're going to have this kind of production from Chris Murray, sky's the limit. I mean, this team can be every bit as good as the team last year, and people want to knock that team. It is a Big Ten championship team. I mean, they win the tournament, and yeah, they bowed out in the first round. But look, matchups. It's a one and done format. That team could have easily made it to the Sweet 16 or maybe even the Elite Eight. So positive things down the pipeline. That's going to be how this team is judged, but it should be a fun ride on the way to March.
Yeah, man. Like one game at a time, one day at a time. But they're gelling. Like these guys like each other. You can tell these guys like each other, and that's what's beautiful about this whole journey that they're on. Like these guys genuinely like each other.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
That's one thing about Fran's groups is they're typically tight knit and doesn't. I mean, I don't remember the last time a Fran team didn't have good chemistry, and it's fun to watch. Fun style of basketball. I can tell you
It's
that.
good. It's good. When it's good, I'm all in. Like I can be fair weather, but when it's good, I'm all in. So
Well, it's good. They're 4-0, so
yeah,
you'll take it, right?
yeah.
So
Keep it going, Corey. What?
Before I let you go, where
Yeah.
are you? Are you from Iowa originally?
Yeah, Manchester. Small
Manchester.
town. Yeah, like 45 miles north of Cedar Rapids on
Oh, yeah.
Highway 20 between Waterloo and Dubuque. And, I love those teams of the old days. Jess Settles, J.R. Koch, Kenyon Murray. I remember watching a game where Kenyon Murray set the record with 9 steals in like 1996 or 1997. But I remember watching that game with my buddy, and there was a TV in the upper corner of his parents' closet. And his parents were gone, but we were just watching the game. And I'm like, oh my God, Kenyon Murray got it again. Kenyon Murray got it again. Kenyon Murray got it again. So yeah, I've always loved and enjoyed the Hawkeyes. I'm ride or die. But again, kind of
how long have you watched this channel?
a week. 1 week, man.
A week?
Yeah, you brought me in. I believe in you. Yeah. You've got strong game. I love it. Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. When you say so, just so you're aware, I mean, we got people calling in, but I just want to let you know, DC, we had every one of those guys you just mentioned. We had on the show last year, so we'll have some of those Tom Davis coach players on again this year with Coach Close because
bring them back. Yeah.
They're all great. Listen, JR, as you know, his son is committed to play here, and Kenyon's two sons have played here.
Cooper's coming. Keegan and Chris, they've gone through the program. Cooper's coming. Like, I love the program. It's respectable. It's great. It's always been honest and disciplined. And yeah, Hawkeye for life.
Amen, brother. Appreciate the phone call, sir, and feel free to call anytime during our post-game shows.
Sounds great.
Thank you, sir. Good to hear from DC out in LA. Let's get to our caller who's been on hold on the phone line. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. It's Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close, who's on the line.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, this is Jack from over in Madison, Wisconsin.
Hey, Jack. How are you, sir?
Okay. I talked to you a little over a week ago.
Yep.
And,
I remember you.
And just a quick comment. I was glad to see the bench get a lot of good, solid minutes in the game. But I was a little disappointed in the interior defense. Way too many easy layup type. I'm watching you on the computer and
You got the echo in the
trying
back.
to talk on the phone at the same
Sure.
time.
I'm
watching you on the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Jack, that yeah, I mean, there's gonna be. I'm not totally sold on this team rebounding the basketball. They won that category tonight, but it was just 42-40, so they were +2 in rebounds. And yeah, interior defense is gonna be a problem. They don't have a lot of size down there, with Rabracha being the one guy that's gonna log the most of the minutes at the 5. Hopefully, they're able. It's just hard to tell in a game like this. In fact, I think I have the wrong numbers. Let me pull up the correct numbers. I said 42-40. The final rebounding numbers tonight were 40-29. Excuse me. So they won that somewhat decidedly. But you're right. I mean, interior defense will be a continued concern. It's just so hard to tell when a team's up 30-40 like this. You're going to let down your figurative guards, so to speak, and we'll get a better test. These next 2 games, again, against Power 5 teams, we'll see what they do. Let's remember against Seton Hall, who's not so far a great rebounding team. Iowa was right with Seton Hall. They actually lost the rebounding battle, but just by 2. If they can break even against most Power 5 teams in rebounding, they're going to make up for that against other teams. So I think the verdict is still out on the interior, but you're right. Depth is a concern.
Quick, different subject. This has been burning me since last year. Who the heck voted for Johnny Davis as Player of the Year over Keegan in the Big Ten?
That's a good question. What is Johnny Davis doing now? Is he playing?
He's in
right
the
now?
G League somewhere.
He is. He's in the G League.
That's what I read 2 days ago.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I don't know. I did not realize he was in the G League. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But Johnny Davis had a good year. No, don't get me wrong. He had a good year, but Keegan was unbelievable as the year went on, especially in the Big Ten tournament. Keegan just took over.
Yeah. And the last thing is, I took your advice, went back and looked at the interview with Marco Lanes.
Yeah, Marco
Sharp
Lainez.
young man.
He is. Yeah, I've got high hopes for Marco Lainez.
Okay, just wanted to say hello. Thanks again, and glad I found you finally.
Absolutely, Jack. We'll look forward to talking to you with Coach Close here soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Good to hear from Jack, who had called and left a message on the studio line here about a week ago. So glad to see that he found the call-in line here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Our phone line is open. Want to tell everybody real quickly about Brad Van Meter and his team down in Des Moines sponsoring the show this evening. Talk to Brad about how he can save you money on auto insurance, life insurance, renter's insurance, etc. Give him a call, 515-256-6480. His team working relentlessly to save their clients money on great insurance policies, border to border here in the state of Iowa. You can also visit them at www.bradvanmeter.com. Their office located on Fleur Drive down in Des Moines. Appreciate Brad Van Meter being a part of this show and sponsoring our postgame efforts this evening. Let's get to Tony, who's on hold. Tony, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, you've probably seen this. I was popping in and out. I was having trouble getting my 1-year-old to sleep. So I think she's finally got down for the night.
I'm glad that you came back here and demonstrated that you know what's really important, Tony. That your appearance on the show is what's really important.
I did want to say I think we're going to match up pretty well with Clemson. Looking at their height, I mean, they don't have a true big guy that's going to give us problems. The tallest guy in their starting lineup, I think, is 6'8", and they got a guy who's 6'10", so we shouldn't match. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, not to interrupt you, Tony, but that's the key moving forward. I mean, look at last year. I mean, we're talking about a team that struggled mightily. I'm talking about Iowa on the glass, especially early in the conference season. They ended up being a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament and, winning the Big Ten tournament. So You can win playing small ball in college basketball a la 2022. Um, are you going to go through some lumps maybe against the Purdues of the world, or even against, Rutgers with, 6'11" Cliff Amori? Maybe. Hunter Dickinson up at Michigan, and of course Michigan State's got height, but they'll be able to survive and win plenty of games because the majority of teams nowadays, Tony, don't have that dominant 7-footer that they used to. And so even though we're not used to it as Iowa fans, because we're accustomed to having a Luka Garza or even a Ryan Kriener, who is 6'11", 6'10", somewhere in there, they're going to be just fine. Rebrace's got to stay out of foul trouble, though, because you get him out, then you get real small, and you're just not going to get many more, maybe 5 to 10 minutes a game from a guy like Josh Agundale. He's not going to be able to give you a whole lot more.
Yeah, it could be a long game if Phillip gets in trouble in any of the games, not just speaking for the next one.
Well,
I did have
I was just say real quick, Tony, he kind of got in trouble against Seton Hall. But again, Seton Hall didn't have that physical force down low. So, you obviously know this coaching staff is prepared for those moments, and they've got plans in place. I don't see Chris playing a lot of 5, but he may be forced to, especially when you're playing teams that don't have the dominant 7-footer. And look, Mulvey's a warm body who's 7 foot, and even though he's not developed, when Rebrace goes down and you're up against a Hunter Dickinson or a Zach Edey, those guys are going to be thrown into the game, and whether they're ready or not. And the way for their route to more playing time is by going in there and performing.
I did have a quick yes/no question for you. Then I was going to follow up.
Okay.
What's the basketball call-in show plan for the weekend for the Friday and Saturday games? Are you going to do a marathon on Friday?
That's a good question. That has not been nailed down.
Okay.
We've got obligations to sponsors, of course. And of course, we're juggling Don and we're juggling Gary, and it's a lot of moving parts there. So I'll be announcing that here in the next 24 hours or so. We're kind of still working through scheduling as far as how we want to do that. As you know, Tony, we have football from 3, and usually, you're talking about a 3 to 3.5 hour game, which means you're going to get a carryover into the basketball game. So what will likely happen, again, this is nothing official yet, but what will likely happen is we'll have back-to-back post-game shows, one being with Gary right after basketball, and then football being after that. I understand there's going to be some people that don't want to wait, but again, we're not going to do a post-game show during basketball. That's just not going to happen.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. If you didn't,
you're good.
Share that.
Good question. Yeah. No, it's a good question.
I think, and you were mentioning if we get Phillip with the foul, if he gets in foul trouble, I think what you might see is instead of Chris defending the 5, you could see Connor, because I think it was 2 maybe years ago or something like that where he did play defense on a lot of 5. I mean, he's only 6'6", but like you said, with teams going smaller, and he can play physical enough on some of those 5s that are the smaller,
closer to 6'5" than 6'6".
Yeah. But I mean, he can at least fill in better than the other bench options we may have.
No, you're right. I mean, he can guard 1 through 5, and I believe Fran when he says that, and he's done that. But yeah, those are things you only want to do in short spurts. And the problem with them going to zone, I mean, I think you can play zone, with guys. I think that a lot of these guys on this team, Connor being a perfect example, are interchangeable. A lot of these different positions, but you go zone and you struggle on the glass even more. And you're just not going to win a lot of games if you're minus 20 in rebounding. And they were minus 20 against Iowa State. They were minus 20 against Illinois. So you're right. Fran's got confidence in moving guys around. I just worry about what that does to your performance on the glass. I'm not real concerned, Tony, with Dickinson going for 40 or Zach Edey going for 40. Like those guys, I mean, I'm sure they can do it, but Iowa tends to do, I mean, even with Connor, and they tend to do okay with defending bigs for the most part. They got in a little trouble against Trace Jackson Davis, that you recall back in the tournament last March. I'm more concerned about the glass because second chance, third chance opportunities will kill you.
And your field goal percentage just goes up and up and up. It goes to second and third and so on and so on.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on something you mentioned on the football show, and I think it was talked about the last basketball show. I do, number one, commend you for being an official. I was an official for 15 years in soccer. I did high school, college, and all that stuff. And you're right. The pay just does not make it worth all of the heartache or the headaches from the fans. And I think
No, it doesn't. And I only did it for a short spurt right out of school, just trying to get a little extra money, and it wasn't worth my time. It was it was Wednesday nights, and I'm just like, there's other things I want to do with my time. I'd be missing Iowa games, but yeah, it was an experience. And honestly, Tony, if somebody said, "Hey, can you come over and ref this guy?" Sure, I'll do it. I've done it, and I feel comfortable doing it. But yeah, it's not worth the pay, and that's why we have a shortage of officials at the high school level.
oh yeah, in all sports, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's all I was going to close on is just like, and I think we might also be more critical today of officials than maybe 15, 20 years ago. And I was going to ask Coach Close this, but we have our HD TVs and 4K TVs, and we get 25 different replays where it's slowed down, and it was dissected. I don't know how much. I listened to a little bit of that football show on the Minnesota thing, but like, did his foot go out of bounds or not or whatever? But the official was right there, and that's what he saw in the heat of the moment. We're all dissecting it with, super zoomed in, slowed down, watching it 10 times in a row. I just hate to see people rag on officials that maybe have never been in their shoes, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. I've never done. First of all, Tony, I've never done a football game, so I don't want to act like my take the other day on the Jack Campbell
Oh yeah,
call was because I officiated at
No.
some level. I just am thinking in that moment but I will say this, I've gotten ripped since that take because there have been a lot of people who don't like the fact that I said that, but I don't know. To me, my big thing is let's get camera views in place. Let's get better views. They have them for basketball. We don't have an issue with, and I understand you're covering a bigger area in football. I get that it's more difficult, but boy, get the sideline view, get the goal line view. You ought to have cameras above. I mean, we have this in the league. You know how much money is in the Big Ten Conference? Why can't we have cameras that are going on a line or a wire over the stadium that can help with these things? I don't think it's that crazy to think about. It happens in the pros. They have these things. So we'll see. I mean, it's one of those things that to me needs to change, and it's needed to change for a while.
No, and you made a great point. I think you mentioned something about the pylon cam. Like, why can't the pylon cam go both ways, across the goal line and up 100 yards? Technology is great enough nowadays that could be. And I mean, I'll even take it one step further. Why can't in football you have like a GPS chip? I mean, I know I'm going way, but technology is cheap enough to make nowadays, and that way when there's a first down or not. If it crossed the goal line or not, something with the football.
Exactly.
There's got to be ways to do this, you'd think. But that's
and the first down. I mean, they are able to obviously with I think that's a little bit easier because you have the hash marks. You can go. I mean, the hash obviously, regardless of where you're at, you can see where the hash marks are. But when you're talking about the goal line and you're actually trying to get a pin, I mean, it can happen on first down. When you're trying to move the chains, but you're talking about. Did the ball cross the line before the ball came out, or did the ball cross the line before the guy's knee went down? You need to have an angle from above. That's what you definitely have to have an angle from the pylon, and you'll get these angles from, to the right of the pylon. What's the point? What's the point of that angle?
You're not doing any good anywhere. Oh, to see that he was down at the half-inch line exactly instead of where we want to see if he was down at the goal.
Yeah, I'm just tired of things being inconclusive. Let's get the best angles so that we can be conclusive. It's either we should hear more. The penalty has been confirmed or the penalty has been overturned. I hate hearing the play stands. I just hate that. Because you're putting so much pressure on the officials to make get the call right on the field. And then they get ripped for it later. Well, why did the official call this on the field? He should have seen it this way. Well, that's why we have replay. So, anyways, there's my rant.
Nope, hey, no problem. And we're always not everyone's going to always agree on everything, And I'm not saying I disagreed with your take, but hey, at least you have a take and you put it out there.
It's what I do, Tony, whether people like it or not.
Well, I look forward to enjoying the ride this year. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Amen,
for
brother.
basketball.
I think it's going to be. I think it is. I mean, it already is. I'm enjoying Iowa basketball, and the women got a nice bounce back victory yesterday, and we'll move right along to a big sports weekend this week. I think Iowa's got a good chance of going 3-0, but I'm very cautious about football, and I'll talk more about that as the week goes on. But fun couple of days coming up Friday and Saturday, no doubt. And then next week you get. I mean, is it next week? You get. No, maybe it's not next week. Iowa State, Wisconsin, Duke, right? That's in a period of like 6 days, I believe.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here. So you got Clemson on Friday, and then that winner of the other game, TCU and Cal on Saturday, the 26th.
Yep.
Then on Tuesday, the 29th, they got Georgia Tech. Then they have a week off, and on the 6th, they play Duke neutral, home to Iowa State, home to Wisconsin.
That's a
Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, that's Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday.
That's a stretch right there, man. That's a tough stretch, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a 5-day. That's a 5-day period. I
Yeah,
thought it was
Tuesday 6th through the 11th. The 6th is the Duke game. The 8th is the Iowa State game, and the Wisconsin game is the 11th. Now I don't know. I was going to see that Wisconsin game is at least Sunday night, so at least they didn't give you a Sunday weekday or weekend, day game. So they at least get a few extra hours of rest. But
yeah.
The other ones are obviously night game. It's 8:30 at night in Chicago, so I mean they're not going to get out of there till at least 11 and get home till who knows, and then play Thursday night at 7 and then Sunday at 5:30. But they're young.
Yeah, you need to think. I think let's see. There's is there Southeast Missouri State after that? You have a couple of gimmies before you get back into conference play, I believe.
Yes, they have 2. Then they play that Sunday against Wisconsin. Then they get another week off because I think that's finals week. I think they always have finals week or something like that off. Because then they play the 11th and then the 17th that Saturday. They play Southeast Missouri State and then Eastern Illinois. And then the 29th, they start at Nebraska, back into the Wisconsin, or back into the Big Ten schedule.
We got a fun stretch here, and we may be talking about we may be talking about a Big Ten football championship game during that same time period as well, Tony. So enjoy the ride while it's here, sir.
And one quick update, because you were talking about how terrible Cal is. Cal is currently playing Texas State at home and is losing 25-22 at half.
Gosh, you lose to Texas State at home. Oh,
Texas State at home, and it's 25-22.
Cal may be on their way to one of the worst seasons in Power 5 history. Yeah, that's the trajectory that they're on right now. So
it is imperative, as you say, that we win this first game because there is no reward for that second game if it's Cal.
Amen. Yep, they got to win. They got it. Yeah, you're right. It's a double whammy if you lose on Tuesday or on Friday.
Well, I'll let you get to other callers. Maybe pay the bills with some advertisements. So
appreciate
I'll
it,
talk to you
Tony.
later.
Thanks for calling in,
have a good one.
Always enjoyed talking to Tony this evening. Our phone lines are open, 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601, or you can join by means of the link in the description below. All right, let's get to some of these comments that I've missed. A couple of these. Pugmaster with the super sticker. Thank you, Pugmaster. Appreciate that. Appreciate the donation. And RDHV. This team is the real deal. Start making it out to Carver, folks. Man, I'll tell you this, and I wasn't at Carver. I live in Ames. I've been at Carver. I was at Carver, game 1 against Bethune-Cookman. I'll be back there soon. But I'll tell you this, that was a pathetic showing on the part of the fans. And you don't like me saying that, that's fine. I don't know what the announced attendance was. Maybe RDHV can tell me this, but there looked like there was maybe 5,000 in there. Maybe there was more than that, but boy, the panoramic view they showed at the outset of this game was really bad. And I understand, it's a lot of people are out of town this week. I get it, but hopefully fans start showing up because absolutely, this is a fun team. It's going to be a fun team to watch. And again, they did this without Tony tonight. They still put up 100 points on a bad team, but without their point guard, who I think maybe their second best player overall on this team. Let's get to our phone call. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hawkeye Howard.
Hey, buddy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting better every day, so I don't want to bore everybody with my issues.
Well, we enjoy hearing from you. What can you give us an update on your health?
Well, I had double bypass. And when you put the sternum back together, they wire it. Well, the wires broke, and then they put a titanium rods and bolts in my chest, and it has to heal in an open wound and be vacuumed at all times. And so I'm still in the intensive care unit down here at Cox Hospital in Springfield, Missouri. And I'm going to plug your insurance, your sponsors. People, if you don't have insurance for this kind of reason, get it. Thank God my wife and I had insurance.
Oh, I
For
bet.
these reasons. Yeah. Thank the Lord, and also going through this ordeal is, I'm walking with the Lord again. So give me a minute. Anyway, the reason why I called in, sorry about that, Corey.
No, you're good, man.
I'm NASCAR guy. I'm gearhead all the way. I got Hawkeye 1 and everything, and NASCAR has gone to a referee system to get the car people off the pit road. And if you look at the NASCAR system, they look down on the cars as they come in. Now, they do 4 tires, fuel it in less than 29 seconds. And people in cars coming in at 50, 60 miles an hour. And you can't tell me you can't put some cameras down some sidelines that have some people step back a little further. See what I'm coming from?
I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree.
I mean, come on. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, hey, NASCAR, let's put this up in here and let's check this out and see what we could do here. So, but I hope people are talking behind me. So, well, anyway, but it's a good game. I just glanced at the game tonight and just wanted to see the boys. They look really good. Now, Corey, if you would have told me in the second or third game of the year, when I went on that rant about his legacy and that we may be in another title, I can't almost get myself to say it. Be part of another title?
Talking about football?
It's mind blowing. So
got to give Kirk credit. He's kept the troops together. I mean, you still got another game on Friday though. But people are looking. I'm not saying you're doing it. People are looking past Nebraska.
I'm not. Nope.
No.
I'm looking for that stumble. That stumble, the typical Kirk stumble. Stub your toe and we almost good. I think we need to keep him around a little bit because we almost got there. So, but either way, I hope there are some changes made. I'm flabbergasted. So, like I said, fortunately I'm going to be here for Thanksgiving. So my family's going to come in and have Thanksgiving with me. And and looks like I may get out of here second, third week of December. So
okay, well, we'll be
but
Be thinking and praying for you, brother. Keep
I
up the
guess,
good keep up the good fight, and you know how to reach me.
Oh, I sure do, buddy. I sure do. I mean, you've been a rock. So I'll talk to everybody later, and everybody, let's go Hawks. Let's make it loud and proud.
Sounds good, sir. Take care.
Bye.
Always good to hear from Hawkeye Howard down in Springfield as he continues to battle some health issues, and we're sending him our very best. So appreciate his support here on the show as always. All right, let's see here. We've got Adam on hold. Adam, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hello.
Adam.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
So how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good today.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's very wonderful. So, so what's the topic about today?
What's the topic about today?
Yeah.
Why did you join the show? Are you here to talk about the topic?
Yeah.
Or?
I'm just watching random streams. I wanted to join you guys and talk to you. It's pretty interesting. But yeah.
Oh, okay. We're talking
Yeah.
about Iowa basketball.
Nice basketball. Okay. That's good. I heard the person that was calling in. I hope he's doing well.
I think he's hanging in there.
Yeah, I hope. What does this say? DJ Glaza. Yeah, Monday was doing good.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, anything else?
No, that's all. See ya.
All right. That was a new one. I guess you get it all here. That's okay. We take it all. Kells Bells, the Washington Bullets. Yes, so I did look this up. Johnny Davis is, I think he's got a 2-way contract with the Wizards, so he's playing some in the league. So I don't want to say he's not playing at all. He is playing some in the league, but certainly not doing what Keegan Murray is doing. And Keegan Murray is a starter in the NBA, a regular starter in the NBA. Okay, Joseph. Appreciate the super chat, Joseph. 2 things. This may be the most rounded Iowa basketball team I've seen in a while. And in 2 years, the Iowa football team will be a special team. Market. Appreciate that, Joseph W. And Iowa football, you got to give them credit. They've recruited at a really high level. We will see what Caden Proctor does. I think he's a Hawkeye, but we'll see. Let's get to our next caller. Clay, welcome back to the show.
Hey, good evening, Corey. How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
Good. I didn't.
Do you know what the topic is?
I was thinking Iowa football tonight. I didn't watch the game,
correct.
so I don't have a whole lot to comment about that.
Okay. Oh, you said Iowa football. Yeah, sure. We can talk about Iowa football.
And it's not really even about Iowa football. Do you remember, I think a while ago you were talking bowl games, crappy bowl games with Mark Rogers. Do you remember that podcast?
I do. Oh, yeah, that's the podcast. I think we lost a lot of viewers.
Okay, well, hopefully it doesn't go there, but I have an idea. You're coming out with a new merch. Where are you at with that?
I'm glad you said something on that. I got an announcement coming here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Should I just spoil the announcement now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
We got merch dropping Wednesday, Clay.
Nice.
So
hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants. What are we talking here?
We've got a wide. I'll just say this: we got a wide variety, and we've got more coming. So I won't go into details until I am able to familiarize myself more with some of the different products. But we've got merch dropping Wednesday, variety of clothing, attire, and then some custom designs coming down the pipeline, I believe. So yeah, I'll give you more information on Wednesday during our live show.
Cool. What would you think? I'll tie it into the toilet bowl or the bowl discussion you were having. What would you think about having a competition of who can come up with the best toilet bowl name? but you got to use it. You got to use one of those crappy companies you were talking about, like Clorox or one of the cleaning companies, and who can come up with the best name gets a free T-shirt or a discounted T-shirt or something. What would you think about that?
Are you talking about me having this contest?
Yeah, like you hosting it.
I think that'd be good. It'd be better if Iowa. Well, listen, I don't want to be perceived as a hater for making this comment, but if Iowa was 6-6,
It'd be
you know,
more interesting. Sure.
it would be more interesting because they'd be candidates for that bowl game. But even if they lose on Friday, they're 7-5, so wouldn't really work. But no, that's not a bad idea.
I had mine already too.
You got yours ready?
Yeah. What do you? I'll run it by you here.
Sure, go ahead.
What do you think about the Charmin Extra Softies Bowl between the two worst 6-6 teams? Because they're extra soft.
That's good. Charmin Extra Softies Bowl. That's good. Yeah, there's so many different things you can do with
So many.
Yeah, with the different toilet brands. I do think the American Standard Bowl is the best because it makes, when you hear American Standard, it makes it sound really tough, but then when you realize that American Standard makes porcelain, then you realize, never mind, it's not an indication of anything. So I think that would be my vote, is American Standard. Nothing more than just the American Standard Bowl. That's what it is.
Fair. There's got to be something you can do with like Clorox.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
There's so many different things you could do.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I'll have to brainstorm how to go about that.
It'd be like, I don't know, you could do like a poll or something on Twitter or
Yeah. We'll do a poll here on YouTube.
It's an idea.
More of those anyways. Absolutely.
Iowa basketball. Last 2-3 games. Who concerns you the most of just performances, individual performances in the last 2 or 3 games? Who's got you worried?
Iowa basketball?
Yep.
Who's got me worried? I mean, I've said this before. My concern is my frustration. It's not even really a concern because I think we know what we have. I think the frustration is that you don't have more depth behind Rebraca at the 5. Ogundele's just not ready for a big role. I mean, we can cheer all we want when he makes a layup, but he's just not ready for a big role. And I'm not ripping the kid for it. I've had him on the show. I've had Riley Mulvey on the show a couple of times, but they're not there yet. And that's my big concern is where Rebraca goes down with foul trouble. What do they do against bigger teams, even against teams that aren't very big? Because who do you play at the 5? I just don't know who you play at the 5 at that point.
Yeah. I mean, he got some extended minutes tonight, didn't he? I didn't watch it too closely, but did he do well or?
Extended minutes. Let me look at his numbers. I guess I should pull up the official box score for the game. Josh Ogundele for the game totaled 9 minutes.
I would say that's extended for him, right? I mean, what's he usually get, 4 or 5? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you're up 30. I mean, we're talking Big Ten games where the things are going to be moving a lot faster. I'll say that. And my concern is his conditioning. I mean, he's obviously got the body to at least compete defensively, but I watched him at that Bethune-Cookman game in person, and we weren't courtside, but we were pretty close. And I mean, he was gassed within a few fighting possessions. And that was against Bethune-Cookman. So he ain't going to give you more than 5 to 10 minutes a game. If Rebraca goes out with 2 fouls within the first 10 minutes, Fran's policy is you're done till the second half. So there you have right now. If say Rebraca goes out at the 10-minute mark, then you got a different 5 for the rest of that half. So just things like that concern me, but it is what it is. I mean, they had those issues last year rebounding the basketball. If they're not ready to combat those problems now, then we're just going to have to live with it. Fran made attempts to go to the portal at the 5, as you well know, and missed. So he's had all off season to try to scheme up a way to be able to rebound effectively with this lineup. Hopefully this is the ideal scenario, Clay. You can't count on Rebraca never getting in foul trouble, but the ideal scenario is Rebraca is just really good at defending without fouling. I mean, if that's the case, then this team could be really good.
He had me a little worried after the Seton Hall game because it looked like he was a little more motivated to start blocking some shots, which is good, but I don't want him, I don't want him jumping at everything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Lost my train of thought. Peyton had me a little worried. Did he play better tonight?
Peyton's struggling. No, Peyton's struggling. He's struggling from the field. The good news is that, Fran took him out, against Seton Hall, and I think that's mainly just you're on the road and you got to go with the guys who are rolling. But this is the type of game you want to get Peyton going in. He really didn't get going. Final number. Right now he's not shooting well, which is weird for him. He was 0 for 4 from 3. He was 3 of 11 overall, made a couple free throws. He did end up with, for the game, let's see here, 8 points, 6 rebounds. So he's giving you something. But again, his big thing, if he's in the game, he's got to make threes. So, yeah, I don't know.
It is nice to see him when he's struggling in the Seton Hall game, and I think I saw him a couple times in this game when I was just glancing over it. It's nice to see him crashing the boards and trying to get a look inside. He's understanding, which not a lot of shooters do, that, hey, this isn't his night. What can I do different to help the team? Because I feel like a lot of shooters, they'll just like, oh man, if this isn't my night, then, oh well, I guess I'll just keep shooting. But they're not looking for their offense other places.
Yeah,
which he seems to.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about this too, if a guy like Peyton Sandfort is struggling, I think the ideal scenario is that Josh Dix has enough in him where he can give you 5 to 10 minutes in a game. It's good to see. I was happy to see Josh Dix get going this evening. He had 3 threes, 3 of 4 from 3, 3 of 5 overall with 9 points. If he can give you a consistent threat from 3, then boy, I think that just elevates competition at that too, because it's clear to me that Tony is the future at the 1. Yes, you're going to have some, moments when you have, Tony and DeSante and Tony and Aaron, but for the most part, Tony's your 1. I know Peyton can kind of slide around, but you need a guy who can be a consistent threat from 3. And although Tony looks like he can shoot threes, Connor's proving he can shoot threes, Peyton is a 3-point shooter. And he's really the only guy on this team that I would label a 3-point shooter, except Josh Dix. If Dix can give you that, then I'm not as worried about Peyton Sandfort. The other thing Sandfort gives you, you're not real big at the 5, but he is long, and so he just helps with length collectively. And I mentioned how many rebounds tonight he had.
He's shown some willingness to rebound. Yeah,
he's got 6 rebounds tonight, which was good for 3rd best on the team. I mean, he's just long. So I mean that's if he's not able to shoot threes, it's going to be hard to keep him on the court. But if he gives you rebounding, that's going to be a need of this team throughout the season, I think.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to see Bowen a little bit more instead of Ulis. I don't know if in the Seton Hall game, anyways. I don't know if Bowen is ready to run the point, but it just seemed like Ulis was a little bit out of control a couple too many times in the Seton Hall game. I don't know if you saw that. And you said maybe he hit some threes this game, so I don't know. He had a little bit better game, but
did you watch any of the game, Clay?
I had it on my second monitor. I wasn't really paying too much attention to it.
You watching Monday Night Football?
Yes.
I knew you were. Dirty dog. Let's see here. Aaron Ulis was 2 for 4 from 3, which is better than he's been. I mean, I haven't seen him make many threes at all in his career. I don't know what his career percentage is, but just to see him knock down a couple, he doesn't have a stroke that I really would encourage anybody to emulate. But if it does the job, it does the job. And, just getting that confidence. To me, that's really those are the only things you do in these games against teams like Uno. You avoid disaster, you take care of business, and you get some of your younger guys some confidence, like Josh Dix, like Aaron Ulis. Hopefully that pays dividends this weekend and moving forward. I mean, this team, honestly, with Clemson being with Clemson struggling to an extent, they are 4-1, but they've struggled. They lost to South Carolina, struggled with the Citadel. With TCU losing Northwestern State, they're dealing with injuries. With Cal being a disaster. Georgia Tech is, I don't know what has Georgia Tech done. I know they were finished last in the ACC last year. We kept hyping this non-conference schedule, but the reality is Iowa could very well be there. They're 4-0 right now. They could easily be 7-0 heading into that Duke game. Or excuse me, not the Duke game. It's the Iowa State game. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but yeah.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, let's see here. Georgia Tech is so Georgia Tech lost narrowly to Utah. Let's see. So Georgia Tech is 3-1. So I mean, I guess the verdict is out on them, and they only beat Georgia State by 2. Like I say, lost to Utah.
Well, we don't want another situation where we're more likely to win than we are to lose. Corey, we already had one of those situations. We don't want that to happen again.
I think they're more likely to win. So you've got again Clemson, and then the winner of winner or loser of TCU, Cal. You've got Georgia Tech, and then you get Duke. So it is Duke first. So no, Iowa. I'm not saying they will be, but they very well could be 7-0 heading into Duke. Very well. I mean, they will be favorites in every game between now and Duke. That's my bold prediction. Even if they play TCU, they will be the favorites in that game.
Yeah. I'll leave you with one more thing, and then I'll jump off. Okay. And Monday Night Football reminded me of it, but Christian McCaffrey, he's on the 49ers now, right? I saw a meme the other night. They all went to the Warriors game. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but there was a picture of him, Kittle, and Garoppolo. And someone captioned it, "This is the closest a 2015 Hawkeye has ever been to tackling Christian McCaffrey." I was cracking up. It hurt, but I thought it was super funny as well.
I forgot about the connection with George having played in that 2015 game. Yeah, that's let's see, George. I guess George was he tight end 1 that year? I think Henry Krieger Coble and he split time, but yeah, I forget that he was on that team in the it's 2016 Rose Bowl, but you're right, the 2015 season. Yeah, that is funny. How is Christian looking down there so far?
I haven't caught very many 49er games other than this one. He looks good tonight, but
good. Well,
he's Christian McCaffrey. Right. I mean, and when he's healthy, he's the most talented running back you could argue in the game. So
I think when healthy, he and Saquon may be the 2 best in the league right now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Derrick Henry this year. He's kind of fallen off a bit, but
he's been taking a beating. I can tell you that. He's been taking a beating since he joined the league. He's a big guy, but boy, eventually that's going to take its toll on you.
All right, thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Big weekend for the Hawks.
Appreciate it, sir. We'll talk soon. All right, let's get to our caller on hold. Actually, before we get to our caller on hold, let me do this. I want to make sure that I get to this comment in the chat. Elijah, he says, I saw the Voice of College Football did an Iowa live, but it was Nebraska's side. Are you doing one with Mark this week? I am, Elijah. That was the weekly Nebraska show that Mark has with Greg Peterson, Husker writer. So I'll be on with Mark tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Central Time on the Iowa at the Voice of College Football channel. So if you're new to the show here, yes, I do a live show with the Voice of College Football on YouTube every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time on the other channel, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. Steve, good to see you here, Steve. I don't know if you're new to the show, but it's good to have you here. Eric says, is there a show Wednesday? Yes, there is, Eric. I'll be giving you some information on that here before the end of the show is up as well. So stay tuned for that. Max says, is Riley Mulvey ever going to be a contributor on this team? I foresee Riley playing, Max. He's still got some serious development to go, but look, he's part of a very, very thin group right now. And Josh is not where you wanted him to be in year 3. Riley's in year 2. He enrolled early, he had reclassified last year. Should have been in high school last year. So he's still young. But yeah, the clock is starting to tick on Riley Mulvey. It certainly is ticking for Josh Agundale. Riley will have a shot this year. He was a contributor in that Big Ten title game last year against Purdue. So no, he'll get a shot this year, but that's still my biggest concern, depth at the 5. Let's get to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, it's the real MVP. How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. My Cats are struggling out there, the University of Kentucky, but
they are.
Iowa isn't struggling. So,
what are we talking about? Football, basketball? What are we talking about?
Yes and yes for Kentucky.
Kentucky's struggling in basketball. What are you talking about?
They're 3-2.
Well, who they lost to though? They lost to Michigan State
and Gonzaga.
Okay, yeah, they're really struggling.
It is, Corey.
I think a lot of teams would be 3-2 if they played. Michigan State looks really good right now.
I know, Corey. And you know what the crazy part is we probably the 1 seed for Kentucky's already probably gone, and it's not even Thanksgiving, unfortunately.
Drill MVP, can I ask you this question since Tony brings it up? How do you feel about Cal basketball? Would you convert to being a Cal basketball fan?
Why?
Do you know what Cal has done this year?
No, I have not watched any Cal basketball. I've been watching the Maui tournament today.
Can I tell you something about Cal basketball? Do you have a moment?
I've got plenty of time. I got all night.
Cal is 0-4. They're 0 wins, 4 losses. Their losses include losses to Kansas State at home, UC Davis, UC San Diego, Southern University, and right now they're losing by 9 to Texas State at home.
Ooh, that's something, Corey.
Sorry.
I'm assuming they're probably not going to make the tournaments from what it's sounding like.
Maybe they get hot in the Pac-12 tournament and win out. You never know.
Maybe. But Corey, I'm not sure if you've looked at the ESPN or whatever they've got, the analytics for the matchup indicator for the basketball. I'm looking at it for Iowa Duke, and Duke is only slightly, and I mean very slightly favored. They've got Duke at 50.3 to win the game, and Iowa at 49.7.
I told you this weeks ago, Drill MVP. You told me that the one game that Iowa was not winning was the Duke game, and I told you, let's wait on that.
I got to give it to you. Iowa's offense looks like one of the best in the country.
Well,
like I know it's only through 4 games, but they haven't even scored under 80 points, and that's impressive regardless of who you play.
3 of the 4 teams have been absolute disasters. I mean, Bethune. Do you realize the numbers, Drill MVP? Let me pull the numbers up here.
I understand the numbers and stuff, but there ain't a whole lot of teams, even against the quality of teams that Iowa's playing, that are averaging as many points. Like, Iowa can score the basketball. Now, it'll be a question is if they play like a Duke or Virginia or an Indiana where they can kind of grind them out if they can win with 70 or 65 points.
So let's play.
But I'm very impressed.
Let's play Guess That Number, Drill MVP. All right, you ready for this?
Okay.
Guess where Bethune-Cookman ranks in Ken Palm right now.
Whew, goodness, how many teams are in basketball? 300 and something.
There's 363 Division I teams.
I'll go 325.
Very close, 330. You want to know where North Carolina A&T ranks right now?
Okay, I'll go 275.
Very close, 297. You want to know where Nebraska-Omaha ranks?
I have no gauge at all. I'll go 250.
333.
Okay.
So those are 3 really, really bad teams. Now, Seton Hall, I know it's early. They ranked 35th. The one thing with Seton Hall we got to realize is they haven't really played anybody besides Iowa, and they lost that game at home to Iowa. So, as Ken Pomeroy, I love his analytics. First of all, it's just a great database. But as the season goes on, we'll get a bigger sample size. You want Seton, if you're an Iowa fan, you want Seton Hall to keep winning. You want these other teams to win, but they have not been tested yet. So yes, they're scoring 100 points. I think they're averaging. I don't know what they're averaging after the Seton Hall game. I know heading into that game, Tim Brando made a point of saying, they're averaging over 100 a game. Well, they played 2 games and they played terrible teams, but they scored 100 again tonight, and they are. I mean, according to Ken Palm right now, Iowa is ranked 15th overall, and they're the 3rd most efficient offense in the country. That shouldn't surprise anybody because Fran's offenses are almost every year in the top 10.
Yeah, I know, but it's pretty good. But I like the flow of this year. Nothing feels difficult at all. Everything just comes natural, easy. Even the shots they miss are good shots. It's a thing of beauty to watch on offense. It really is. And Corey, Seton Hall, I'm not sure if you're aware of their schedule. They will be tested here shortly. I can guarantee that. They play Memphis, and then they play at Kansas. Seton Hall goes and beats Kansas, then Iowa's winning, and Seton Hall looks a whole lot better than it does right now.
You're right. And again, I don't know that Seton Hall is going to be a tournament team, but I don't know that they won't be. They didn't look great the other night, but they're a younger team. And look, whether they're young or not, if they end up being a tournament team, that's going to be a good win on the resume. The fact that Iowa went out to New Jersey and won that game somewhat comfortably, that's going to be a good win come tournament time.
Oh yeah, I think the margin of victory helps, and I think they're not going to be a quad 4 team. They'll probably be a quad 2 team if I had to guess. I know it's early and things can happen, but would you agree with that general thing? They're a bubble team, if I had to take a guess.
It's still early, but you're probably right. And let me just say this: if you're going to play the transitive property here, Omaha, who Iowa beat tonight by 36, got beat by 25 to Kansas and got beat by 14 to Nebraska, if that means anything.
Yeah. Oh, it's Nebraska. I know Nebraska last year was did they finish up quad 4? I know in like February or March they were in quad 4. So maybe they've turned it around a bit for them. But, they've got Clemson coming up. They got Georgia Tech, Iowa does. And those are 2 games Iowa should win, Corey. Clemson and Georgia Tech, if they lose those games, those are probably going to be, quad 3 or quad 4 losses?
Well, no, I don't know about Clemson. Where's Clemson right now? Ken Palm has Clemson. Clemson's not. Let's see. Clemson's 64 and Ken Palm. I don't know where they are. I mean, we don't even have net rankings yet. But Clemson's 64. So I don't. Clemson's 4-1. I mean, I don't think they're not your grandma's pudding.
I get they're 4-1, but they haven't looked impressive to me from what I'm seeing from their schedule. They only beat the Citadel by 11.
Yeah.
They beat up SC Upstate by 11. They beat Bellarmine by 10. I mean,
yeah, and they lost. It's a bad lot. They lost a bad one to South Carolina. South Carolina.
Right.
What has South Carolina done?
I think they're not that good. If I had to take a guess.
You think? They're 2-3. Yeah. I can tell you that. South Carolina. Let's see.
They lost to Colorado State, Davidson, and Furman.
They lost by 19 to Furman.
Their only win other than Clemson is a 3-point win against SC State.
South Carolina lost by 32 to Colorado State.
That's a bad loss for Clemson.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I don't know.
That
they should beat Clemson. You're right. Iowa should beat Clemson on Friday. No question about it.
Yeah. And then they should beat Georgia Tech. Duke is 50-50, we'll say. They should beat Iowa State. The only loss I can see for Iowa right now in their non-conference schedule is Duke. Every other game I think they should win. Would you agree with that?
Iowa State's going to be difficult. Duke's going to be difficult. I think this game Friday is just really big. I mean, I think they should beat Clemson, but as our caller earlier brought up, remember, that's a tournament format drill MVP. So you lose to Clemson, then you're probably getting Cal the next day. So that really hurts your strength of schedule.
Right. It hurts the resume. There's almost nothing to gain, but if you lose a quad 4 to a quad 4 team, you're going to get bumped down. Probably.
By the way,
even if you're at the top 10 or 15 places.
Eric giving us an update. Texas State leads Cal by 11.
Oh my goodness! Good for the Bobcats, I guess.
Bobcats are pulling away.
Good for them. Good for the Bobcats of Texas State, Corey. But I want to ask you about the Big Ten as a whole, because Iowa's the Big Ten defending champions. What are you thinking about the Big Ten this year? I know Indiana was the preseason favorite. A lot of people had them winning, but it's looking like a tougher conference than I was expecting at the beginning of the year.
Still early, but yeah, they remember they struggled in that Gavitt Games tip-off series last year against the Big East. This year they dominated it. You got Maryland dominating Miami, who was an Elite 8 team last year. I don't know what Miami is this year, but I mean, I think Miami, didn't they? I'm not going to bother looking at their schedule. I think one of those teams, either Maryland or was it Penn State? I mean, they're all winning games right now. Even Northwestern looks pretty good. There's no team in the Big Ten Conference right now that has more than one loss.
That
does not mean that there's not any bad losses in the conference. That's not what that means. But no team has lost more than one game, and that like you said, that is a good stat to own if you're the Big Ten right now. And because the Big Ten has played some tough games, it's not like a lot of these teams played a Big East team. I'm going to pull up the Big Ten right now. So let's see here.
I mean, while you're doing that, Miami beat Providence by 10.
Yeah, so that's a good win.
That's a good win
for Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
So right now, Drill MVP, you've got San Diego State beat Ohio State tonight. Now, San Diego State's top 25 team. So let's see. Now they have one loss, but Maryland is 5-0. Maryland with wins against St. Louis. They beat St. Louis by 28. Beat Miami by 18.
St. Louis is a decent team.
That's a decent program. I don't know if it's a decent team. It's a good program.
Well, yeah, generally.
Indiana went on the road, beat Xavier. They're undefeated. We know Iowa went on the road, beat Seton Hall. Northwestern went on the road and beat Georgetown, who's not very good under Patrick Ewing, but Northwestern's 4-0. Purdue right now, they beat Marquette. They'll have a big game against West Virginia on the road coming up. Or actually, I believe there's a neutral site game coming up. Wisconsin, they beat Stanford at home. They're one Power 5 opponent that they've faced. Penn State, they beat Butler. Lost to Virginia Tech on a neutral site by 2. Penn State also beat Colorado State on a neutral court by 12. Let's see here. Illinois, we know Illinois lost to Virginia, but that was after beating number 8 UCLA. So Illinois off to a solid start. Minnesota, they may be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Squeaked by Western Michigan by 1. Lost to DePaul by 16 at home. Beat Central Michigan by 8 points. Right now they're leading Cal Baptist. And you're going to turn this game on when we're done here, Drill MVP. It's over on CBS Sports Network, 27-18 at halftime. Nebraska. Let's see, Nebraska. See, they're vying for the worst team in the Big Ten too, and I think Fred Hoiberg may be in some trouble. They got blasted by St. John's by 20, but they've taken care of business against. Basically, the Big Ten's not losing. They're really not. They're not losing to bad teams, minus the Minnesota getting blown out by DePaul, who I don't really have a read on. There's not really any other bad losses in this conference right now. Rutgers, I guess Rutgers would be the one exception. They lost it to Temple, and I don't think Temple's very good. Right now, Temple is, let's see, what is Temple's record? Temple's 2-2, and currently they're playing St. John's and losing on ESPNU. So I know that's a lot of data that most people on here probably don't care about, but the point is the Big Ten is off to a solid start, and I think they'll perform well in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Yeah, let me ask you about this, just as a general thought. Yeah, I know I was playing in a small 14 tournament, but you got these big tournaments going on, like the Maui Invitational. Phil Knight's having a few tournaments. Would you rather play, if you had your choice, would you rather play in those tournaments, or would you rather just play at a 14 tournament?
I'd rather play in the big tournament because it's more basketball back to back to back. But, I mean, if you get the right 4-team tournament, it can be great, right? I mean, if you get 4 really good teams.
The Illinois, Baylor, UCLA, Virginia type thing. I'm not sure if you saw that tournament, but that was a great tournament.
Amen.
But
absolutely.
These tournaments, I think, this tournament for Iowa, I mean, to be honest with you, Corey, I think Iowa's stock can only go down. I don't think it can go up a whole lot from a national picture.
But by beating Clemson?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But I don't know what TCU's injury status is, how healthy they're going to be, but if they play TCU on Saturday, that will be, I don't want to say a marquee game. I doubt TCU is ranked, right? They probably fell out of the rankings.
I mean, they lost to Northwestern State and they almost lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean,
yeah, but
TCU I thought was a good team, but
they've been really banged up though. I don't know if they're going to be healthy by Saturday, but and that doesn't help your perception. You're losing games regardless of the reason. It doesn't help perception, but my guess is that TCU will round into form and be a tournament team. But right now, they are not healthy and they don't look very good.
Right. And that's, that loss is going to stay with them all year. So if they're on the bubble, which in the Big 12, I mean, that's a heck of a conference over there. They'll probably be on the bubble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a good conference.
Oh yeah, it's these small things because Iowa, and shout out to Iowa being ranked. Corey, how does that feel being ranked team?
I'd rather them not be ranked, but
You'd rather not be ranked.
Targets on your
Why
back,
is
real
that?
MVP. Targets on the back.
Targets on the back. That's the best place to be. Is when you get everybody's best shot. That way, when the tournament comes around, you know what to expect.
I know what to expect. Did you watch the Iowa Richmond game?
Yes, I watched all of the Iowa. I had Iowa in the Final Four, Corey. So I watched every second of the game, and I was pulling for Iowa.
Yeah.
But I was also watching the St. Peter's Kentucky game. Watched every second of that, and all the seconds in overtime as well. Thank you, by the way, for beating St. Peter's head coach for me. Thank you. Kentucky couldn't do it, but Iowa did it. So
St. Peter's is a skeleton now. They're a without.
The transfer portal really ate them up, and I think that's one of the for football. I don't think it's going to be a big deal since there's a lot of players, a 53-man roster. But for basketball, if you lose one or two key pieces, especially for these smaller teams, I think it can really destroy some of the Cinderellas.
Well, it's
I'm not sure Murray State. I know Murray State last year, they were 34-2, something crazy like that. Wonder what happened with all their players. I feel like they'd be eaten up by the portal.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
The portal has certainly evened the playing field for a lot of, especially the group of fives. We've had more bye games that have ended up being upsets this year than I think ever before. I don't have that data to support it, but I'm going to go through and ask Gary Close about this because I think part of that is a transfer portal.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that, especially in the women's side. I'm not sure if how much you're paying attention or putting a gauge on women's basketball, Corey.
Oh, a lot. I mean, not national scale. I've been all over the Iowa women basketball team and results, but I've not been watching like South Carolina. I don't sit down and watch the Gamecocks, but it's the first year I've been this invested in Iowa women's basketball.
Well, it's looking like kind of, usually you have a bunch of teams, the really good teams just kind of all year, 1 or 2 losses throughout the entire season. But this year, Texas is a great example of this. They're still ranked, Corey, despite being 1-3, which is, I don't know how they're ranked at 1-3, but Iowa lost.
Ken Palm's got them as like the number 1 defense, I think, in the country.
Yeah, Louisville's lost 2 games. NC State's lost a game. Got blown out by UConn. So there's a lot more parity in the women's side this year than normal, and I think that's because of the transfer portal. And you saw it last year. Creighton beat Iowa.
Yeah.
Who would have seen that coming? And I think it's because of the portal, and it's kind of great. I'm happy for it. Now, if you're on the losing end, obviously not, but. So, Corey, let me ask you this. Okay. I heard you've got some type of show or something playing Wednesday night.
Yeah, we got our live show with Hawkeye Hangout, and we'll have Coach Patterson on this week.
Oh, you're gonna have Coach Patterson on this week.
Yeah. Special edition of Hawkeye Hangout on Wednesday evening with Coach Patterson.
And I'm assuming you're going to be talking about the Nebraska game coming up this week for the Big Ten West if you win it.
You would assume correctly, MVP. You would assume correctly. The Big
Ten
West.
If I told you 4 weeks ago, all Iowa needs to do is beat Nebraska to win the Big Ten West, what would you say?
I would have probably woken up because I would have thought I would have thought I was in a dream. Yeah, I mean, or I don't want to say. I'm not saying I'm on cloud 9. I mean, I'm happy that they're a game away, but I would have never expected that 4 weeks ago, and I was pretty outspoken about that.
I know you were, Corey. I was trying to pump the brakes. I still had them 8-4, but
you did not have them 8-4 when they were 3-4. Come on.
I said 7-5. Sorry, 7-5.
Okay.
7-5.
Yeah,
I believe.
I never thought they're going to lose out. I mean, I thought they'd get to a bowl game, 6-6, 7-5, but they haven't gotten 8-4 yet. They got to beat Nebraska. They lose to Nebraska on Friday. It's going to be ugly because fans are going to be upset, and they should be. You lose to Nebraska at home with a division title on the line, yeah, you should be, especially if it's because of the
I get that.
offense.
Well, have you seen the way Nebraska's played without their quarterback, Casey Thompson?
Yes, and he's supposed to play this Friday, but yes, they are not nearly as good when he's hurt.
Yeah, their offense and Iowa's offense, that is going to be a heck of a game. That will be a scoring battle if there's no Casey Thompson. It might be 2-0. I'm not even trolling. It might be 2-0, Corey.
As long as Iowa's 2.
Who would you rather play, Ohio State or Michigan?
I guess if you want a chance to win, I'd say Michigan.
Even though you've already played them. Well, you played both of them, but the Michigan game.
Michigan game was a lot more competitive than Ohio State. Michigan game was more competitive than Ohio State.
Okay, that's fair enough. Do you think the Michigan people at the Voice of College Football with you? I know that's just a dream collaboration, Corey.
Oh, don't we want another Big Ten championship game, Iowa versus Michigan, so that I can make my predictions again?
Yeah, I know. Those Michigan people, don't they love you over there?
Oh, they just can't get enough.
I know. They can't get enough, Corey. And you know what? Eventually, if you play the same team over and over again, you're going to win one of them, Corey.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I know. Eventually, it's going to happen. Good luck to Iowa going forward. I guess good luck to Texas State as well. And hit the like and subscribe button. Corey, what goal should we set? You passed 4,000 subscribers, and that's congrats on that. But do you think you can get 5,000 before January, the new year, or?
That's tough. I mean, with football winding down, I'd say if we can hit 5,000 by the end of basketball season, I'll be happy.
Okay. We'll hit the like and subscribe button. I know I will.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck.
All right. Appreciate Drill MVP. And, of course, didn't want to forget our sponsor, Brad Van Meter, and his team down at State Farm. Wanted to give him another shout-out. Again, certainly contact Brad. His small but hardworking team, they are in it for you and your needs. They offer great rates on auto, home, renters, business, life insurance. These 3 fully licensed team members will help you to navigate through the complex insurance world. State Farm, of course, the largest auto insurance company in the country. They recently celebrated their 100th year of being in business. And this team down in Des Moines, they've been in business since 1999. Give them a call at 515-256-6480 or visit them online at bradvanmeter.com. All right, want to give everybody some stats before we wind down. I do have a couple comments to get to in the chat that I didn't want to forget. We're kind of over my expected show time here. But let me read you some stats here for the game this evening. Maybe you didn't watch the game or you want to recap. I'm going to give it to you now. The Hawkeyes, of course, defeating the Mavericks of Nebraska-Omaha 100-64 on the back of Chris Murray, who was sensational this evening. 30 points for Chris Murray. Yes, he was absolutely terrific. And, of course, in the first half alone, 25 of those points in the first half for Chris Murray, 11 of 13 from the field in that first half, including 3 of 4 from the 3-point arc. Chris Murray looking like his brother on this Monday evening. So Chris Murray ends up with 30. Patrick McCaffrey ends up with 16 points, 5 boards to go along with 3 assists. The only other guy in double figures was Connor McCaffrey, surprisingly enough. Connor with 12 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And what's interesting about that, folks, the fact that you have just 3 guys in double figures. You either going to have one guy who's scoring 50 or you're going to have a lot of balance. And the answer is a lot of balance. Now, Chris Murray did chip in the 30, but you got a lot of help from a lot of different guys. It was good to see Desante Bowen get an extended run this evening. You had Philip Rebracha with 8 points, Aaron Eulis with 7, Peyton Sanford with 8, Desante Bowen with 7, Josh Dix chipped in 9, Dante Eldridge with 2, Josh Agundale had the 1 free throw make this evening. So they're going to continue to need some some help as it relates to depth. You want Josh Agundale and Riley Mulvey to develop, but those guys are probably set right now at giving you 5 to 10 minutes per game as needed. We watched the Seton Hall game. Those guys didn't play at all. So there are going to be games like that, especially against smaller lineups. The Hawkeyes for the game from the field shot 55% from the field overall today, 46% from behind the arc, 12 of 26. Those are winning numbers. And yes, they're going to go up against better defenses, but typically three-point shooting translates once you get into three-point or to conference play. They were 76% from the free throw line. They continue to be a good three-point shooting team. Iowa with 17 points off of Omaha turnovers. Omaha for the game had 14 turnovers. The Hawkeyes, another game with just 9 turnovers. So another single-digit turnover game for the Hawks. And, of course, those numbers are going to translate as well because the Hawkeyes have proven that last year, one of the lowest turnover margin teams in the country, in the conference, in the country, very similar to their counterpart in the football field. Teams that don't turn the ball over typically perform well, whether talking about football or basketball. Let's see here. Fast break points, Iowa with 20 to Omaha's 8. Iowa got 31 points off its bench. The teams evened out 40 apiece as far as points in the paint are concerned. And again, pretty routine victory. Tony Perkins did not play due to a thigh injury, maybe precautionary. Didn't get to hear Fran McCaffrey after the game, but I'm guessing it was precautionary. But again, just solid all around this evening. And Chris Murray, I mean, he looked like his brother at times this evening. And I do think he's got maybe some touch that his brother didn't have. Not saying he's as complete a player as Keegan. He's got a long way to go before being a lottery pick, but he's got a chance. And Patrick McCaffrey, if you can get this level of production on offense, and he's going to chip in 5 to 10 rebounds a game, again, that's going to help and pay huge dividends once you get into conference play. Tony Perkins back, and you get those younger guys some run. Boy, it's going to pay big dividends. So the Hawkeyes will, of course, be back on the hardwood on Friday. Iowa Clemson down at the Emerald Coast Classic in Florida. They will then play either the winner or loser, depending on how the games shake out. Cal and TCU, the other game down in Niceville, Florida. And let me give you an update if you're curious on how bad Cal is. Let's see here. How do I find this? So Cal, as I mentioned earlier, has not won a game this year. And as of this hour, as of this moment, Cal is trailing Texas State 48-41 late in the second half, folks. So let's hope Iowa does not play Cal. Joseph W., can I just say, I love Jabo, love Garza, but this is the most well-rounded Iowa team I've seen in a few years. If only we had Keegan still. Boy, can you imagine? Doug says neutral site games, top 50 or quad wins. Hopefully, Clemson and TCU would be top 50. Amen, Doug. That's a great point. And they've got a chance of being top 50 quad one wins because they're going to be top 50 neutral site games, hopefully. James Lauenberg. I love that the show can reach everyone, not just those within range of local radio stations. Nice for dislocated Hawkeyes. Also nice to hear perspectives of fans of other teams. Appreciate that, James. And that's one of the main reasons why we launched this when we did, because it's great to be able to hear from fans, not only in the state of Iowa, but across the country and in some cases across the globe. We've had people call in from Costa Rica. We've had people write in from Africa and Alaska, and it's just the Philippines. So it's just great to hear from fans across the country and, again, across the earth. Italicus, what happens if Iowa doesn't score high points? Will we be able to slow other teams down? That's the question mark, right? Defense and rebounding is always the question mark with Fran-coached teams. So we will just have to wait and see. I will be back with you on Wednesday with Coach Don Patterson. Time to be announced. It will be in the evening, so stay tuned for information on this. Of course, we'll have a call-in. Of course, the comment section, the live chat will be going as always. And I want to make this clear for everybody. This is official. Merchandise will be dropping Wednesday, folks. Been having a lot of people asking about this. Merch will be dropping Wednesday, so stay tuned for details on this. You can shop Amazon with us. It's a way you support the show. There's an Amazon link to shop with us. Regardless of what you buy on Amazon, use the link in our description. It supports the show, and you can buy whatever you buy in your daily essentials, etc. through Amazon. Use the link in our description, please. Again, it does support the show. Follow me on Twitter @FromTheHawkeye. You can also like our Facebook page, which I am not good at promoting. So please help out the Facebook page, if you will, From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. If you're interested in sponsoring either our show with Coach Close or our show with Coach John Patterson, hopefully a couple more post-game shows so far down the line after Nebraska on Friday, you can reach out to me from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. From the eye of the storm at outlook.com. You can also donate to the channel in the description below. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, whatever's suitable to you. Please hit that like button on the way out. Please subscribe. I will be back with you tomorrow over at Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football with the one and only Mark Rogers. And daily content, folks. Stick right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm and Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football. Coverage around Big Ten and Hawkeye Nation all year round. Thank you for being here, and we will talk to you soon.